Hello and welcome back to the NNP Symposium, everyone. For this session, we have Russ Bega and Mike Nottelmann for the Coin Show podcast. Mike and Russ, you're welcome to turn your cameras back on and unmute yourselves. The Coin Show podcast is the longest running numismatic podcast out there. It's been over 10 years now. What is it? 12-ish?
13.
13. I was close.
Lucky 13.
They have a huge backlog of episodes. If you like what you hear here and have not heard them before, I encourage you to take a look at some of their past episodes as well. And we will be doing a Q&A at the end, like we have been for the rest of the symposium. So if you have questions along the way, send them in at any time using that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of the show, I will come back on and we will talk about them. So that's all for me. Russ and Mike, I will let you take it away.
And interesting to note that all of those back episodes are available on the Newman Numismatic Portal. So let's go.
Do it. This is the Coin Show podcast, the show about coins and coin collecting, and not just any show. This is the #1 coin collecting podcast, going 10 years strong. Here's Matt Dinger and Mike Nottelmann on the Coin Show podcast.
And this is the Coin Show podcast live from the Newman Numismatic Portal. I'm Mike Nottelmann, and joining me today and for Matt Dinger is
Russ Bega, I think is what they call me.
I think that's what they call you. Matt has some personal issues he has to attend to, and so Russ is always our handy fill-in host, and we're really happy to do this. So on this episode of the Coin Show podcast on the Newman Numismatic Symposium, we are going to do a game for the news instead of, our typical fare. Russ is going to talk about the club scene. And then we have a question to ponder before we turn your questions loose on us. So first, as always, the news. And the news is brought to us today by Zippers. Better than buttons since 1893, Zippers. So, Russ, we're going to play a game. It's called Pick Your News. And Pick Your News involves there are 10 tabs up on my screen. You get to pick them. I have to warn you, there is a third rail topic in there. And good luck to you.
I would just like to say I think it's a little Freudian that you went with pick the news. It sounds a little like pick your nose. I work with you, so I know your hygiene habits. So I'm going to go with that. Might have been intentional. But I will play your devilish game. I'm going to play this like Battleship. I have a strategy. So we're going to start with story number 4.
Story number 4. Okay. So story number 4 is... God. This is way harder with the thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's try that. The innovation proof sets have debuted, as well as the Maria Tall Chief Quarters. So this is the American Innovation dollar set, which some of you may be completely unaware of. It's a set that they make and they don't circulate, and they don't put them in mint sets, and they don't put them in proof sets, except all by themselves. It's just another set of dollars that are being put out there. Maybe it's something that helps them comply with their dollar production compliance. They have to make so many of them a year. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the mintages on these things are, because you know me, I'm not really a modern guy. Don't do a lot of stuff with modern coins, but I mean, they can't have big mintages, being that they don't circulate at all. They're not in proof sets. They're not in mint sets.
Special order only.
See, and I feel like this is such a waste of a program sometimes, because I like the program. They've done some really, really interesting stuff in this program. It feels so forced, and it always kind of has. I know you love them, and I like them too, because I think they actually are very neat.
But I
wonder how many
like them
people
for more
really.
esoteric reasons. The reasons I like them is because they bring more designs out, right? Which just gives us more art to look at, more stuff to collect. And the fact that I think that more dollar coins are a good thing. But here's what I think about it is that this is going to be one of those series where maybe 80 years from now, somebody discovers them and decides to collect them and is going to have a really hard time. The question is whether or not they'll have enough popularity overall, right, to gain value.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's one of those that it's like they're not made out of precious metal. They're not popular. People don't see them. I think they'll always be somewhat collectible. Just like anything else modern mint, there's always going to be people that like them, that collect them for what they are. I don't know. I do like them. I just think that it's kind of interesting how the mint went with this program, because it was very quiet and it still kind of is. We hear about the American women quarters constantly. The mint is always talking about them, even on TV and things like that. And unless you're a collector, you don't know anything about these
Yeah,
innovation
you've never
dollars.
heard of these.
Exactly.
They're
But I
not
digress.
attractive. They're not mainstream. They live in a van down by the river.
By the river.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this program is just kind of one of those that it exists, but maybe because nobody knows about it, they may find some use for them down the road.
It's possible.
All right, pick number 2.
We're gonna go with story number 1.
Story number 1. The 2023 Morgan and Peace dollar reverse proof sets are pretty much going to be available within the next couple of days. They have already started hitting credit cards, as both you and I know.
Yep, I got mine charged today.
And to be really honest with you, I am not totally sure what these are going to look like, because I heard from somebody who saw them who was very unimpressed. But I think that when it comes to reverse proofs, people are like one side or the other on them.
I have a very well-known dislike of reverse proofs. Of 90% of the reverse proofs that exist, I don't like any of them. I will say that I bought this set. I bought one set for myself. And I know I'm contradicting myself because I literally just told the audience that I don't do modern. However,
and you don't like these.
I like the peace dollars. I've always loved peace dollars. I have a well-known dislike of Morgans and a love for peace dollars. And I recently, over the last few years, bought a Peace Dollar Dance Go album, and I just started kind of playing with it. It's a nice, low-stress, fun set. And then the Mint comes out with 2021 Peace Dollars, so I got to buy one and put it in my Dance Go. And then they come out with 2023 Unks, and then Proofs. And now I'm just buying Modern Mint stuff because I can't have holes in a Dance Go because I'm a coin collector, which means I'm insane.
The Dance Go's going to rack them, too, and that's going to make you even more unhappy.
Yep. Oh, I know all of this, but it'll be interesting with these. I'm really interested to see what their plan is going forward, because they had really good sales of the 23s, but if you look at the secondary market for these things, I mean, what was the issue price was 75, I think.
I think it was 85. Yeah, it may have been 80.
It might have been, yeah, somewhere between 75 and $80 was the issue price. Yeah. When I was at the Indie Coin Show, the Indianapolis State Show a couple weekends ago, you could buy them for $90 all day, every day. I think
the 2023 went over better because there were fewer products. You didn't have all the different privy marks and mints. It was just one Morgan, one piece. And that idea, I think, appeals to people, that they'll collect them as long as there's one a year.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I feel like so many speculators, again, bought so much modern mint stuff that the market is just flooded because they made these things to order, So it's not, me and you bought one because we both want one, or we bought a couple to put away. The household limit was like 25, and I definitely know people that were buying 25 hoping to get them soon and then flip them. And I just think that hurts the market so much. And I wish that we could figure out a way to make it so that this kind of stuff doesn't happen, because the speculators can really mess things up. And I know that's funny coming from a coin dealer, But at the end of the day, I'm still a collector.
Well, here's how I think it happens is that people are lemmings. They follow, right? So what ends up happening is they see a limited edition product come out. It goes fast from the mint and the people flip them and they make a lot of money. Now a product comes out that is made to order and they think you can do the same thing with it and you can't. And the best example of this, I think, is the 2020 or 2013 West Point set with 2 Silver Eagles in it. And they made them to order and a bunch of people returned them because they realized there was no flip profit in it, which made the supply high and the demand satisfied. Yeah. And you know me, it's got one of my favorite coins of all time. It's got the enhanced uncirculated Silver Eagle in it. Yeah. And it's never going to have any real value because they made too many of them for the number of collectors that were interested. Yeah, and I think that's going to happen with this.
I think so.
It definitely happened with the enhanced uncirculated mint set that they put out in 2019 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like there were 50,000 of them or 200,000 of them. People got on the mint website. They sold out in 10 minutes. And right now you can't give one away.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what these look like. I'm hopeful that they'll at least look decent. I was really impressed with the Peace Dollars this year. The Morgans seemed less so. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
All right. Next.
Story number 8, sir.
Story number 8. See? We have. God, I wish I'd have scrolled these up. We have 10 extreme U.S. error coins that have brought big prices. Now, here is what is the fodder for typical YouTube channels or YouTube shorts. And this coin brings you big money. These are the actual coins and the ones that brought big money. So there were 10 of them, which I thought were kind of cool. From the 2000p Sacagawea Washington quarter mule, a 2000 D Maryland state quarter that was struck on one of the feeder fingers from the press. All kinds of 43 and 44 off metal errors. An 1862 Indian cent obverse die cap. That is a really, really neat piece.
That is very neat.
Yeah, not the rarest, but definitely the neatest. And it sold for $40,000. 1979 P and SBA dollar struck on a 78 Jefferson nickel. A Roosevelt dime on a nail. Now, here's here's the funny story about this. Is that this was originally thought to be treachery at the mint, that somebody had, really purposely done it. And although that can be true, it has been proven that it may have just been innocent. Because if you've ever taken a mint tour, on these conveyor belts above the where they take the coins through, there are often nails. And if they rattle down into a bin, they're going to get struck. And that's not on purpose. That's just kind of what happens through the maintenance of the mint.
What I think is really interesting about some of this stuff that comes out of the mint is I think people often forget, because we talk about coins and we talk about money, and they're this separate category of thing. But it's like, you got to remember, the mint's just a factory. They're just making a product, just like any other manufacturing. So it's like they've got all that stuff. It's like the machinery. It's got to be lubed. It's got to be cleaned. That's how you get cloth on dies. That's how you get all those things. It's a factory at the end of the day, and factories make mistakes. And sometimes they're crazy cool mistakes. The mint is just better at catching them than everybody else because they're supposed to.
Right. They're really good at keeping the stuff that they make unintentionally from getting out. However, when it does get out, the real secret to being able to figure out how it happened or whether or not it happened, legally, lies in the manufacturing process. And so learn how they mint coins, and you look at errors and you start to learn. There's let's see. This next one is going to open your eyes to something, Russ.
Oh, Lord.
It's an 1867 shield nickel with a split planchet delamination error.
Oh, interesting.
I happen to know where there's a Jefferson nickel exactly like this, and this one sold for $517 in 2011.
Wow. I do definitely know where that is. We definitely have one in the shop right now that we bought in a deal a little while ago. And split planchets aren't all that uncommon, but finding a split planchet with the other half, that's the part that is much more interesting.
Finding half a planchet,
Interesting,
somewhat
cool,
common.
neat.
Yes, but both halves of the same planchet, not so much.
Not so much.
There is a 1874 gold dollar with a mirror brockage.
Oh, that's very neat.
That's really cool.
Ugh.
A pair of 99p Connecticut quarters that were bonded together. And last but not least, a 43 Walking Liberty half. They don't know which mint it came from. It was struck 60% off center.
Wow. Cleaned.
So
that's unfortunate.
Errors that have, yes, it's cleaned. And they called it out for it too.
They sure did.
Yeah. So, these are all things that went for big money. So if you are, looking for errors that'll bring you big money, this is the kind of stuff that it takes. It's not your average, ordinary stuff.
How about story number 2?
Story number 2, page 2. This I thought to be a fairly interesting story. So NGC now has a competitive registry set called the Morgan 50. Have you ever heard of this?
I've not, no.
And that was the funny thing is I had not either. So the Morgan 50 is it's a set of 50 uncirculated Morgans in MS63. And they have a price somewhere between $75 and $400. This is more of kind of like an everyman set, right? It's something people can collect. The average cost of these coins is $125. It is a predetermined set. It's these coins, right? And it's a registry. There are some that include all the P mints. There are some that include the S mints. I think they have a set for each of the 5 mints. I'm not sure. But to the best of my knowledge, this is not a thing.
Yeah. That's interesting. I like the idea. Registry sets are, man, they're such a double-edged sword because, people like competition. People like showing off their things. And I think that's great. And I think competition is amazing. The problem is, it's kind of like baseball. Why do the Yankees always have the best team? Historically, whatever, you're a baseball guy. I'm not. But why do the Yankees always have the best team? Because they have the most money to spend. And that's how
exactly
registry
right.
sets are.
That is exactly right.
And that's how registry sets are. So it's like, yeah, well, no duh. The billionaire guy has the finest known set of blah. How am I ever supposed to
Stuart Weitzman had to
compete with that?
Up, inverted Jenny and the 33 legal,
Exactly. It's like that's hard to compete with. So I like this. That's why I've always liked the concept of everyman sets, because coin collecting really is a hobby that, it gets a bad rap for being it's too expensive, all those kind of things, but it really doesn't have to be. I mean, collecting anything is what you make of it. And I do like this. I really do like this. I think this is a good bit of well-wishing and trying to get more people involved in it that NGC is doing. So I think this is actually a pretty good move from NGC.
You know what this also seems to be to unintentionally do? This might also inflate the prices of those 50 by putting pressure on them.
It more than likely, yes. And that's what because 63 Morgans. I mean, how many 63 Morgans do we have in the shop? God knows. Sure. There's buys for them. Yeah, there's buys for them. You can buy 63 Morgans. I think the buy right now from a lot of national distributors is somewhere around the $90 mark, maybe even cheaper than that. Might even be closer to 60 now that I think about it. But they're affordable. So I wouldn't doubt that it's going to drive it up a little bit. But you also have to wonder how popular this is going to be. Because I know registry set guys, but the vast majority of collectors aren't registry set people. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a good idea. I mean, NGC has certainly had some not great ideas over the last couple of years, in my humble opinion, allegedly. But I think this is one of the better ones.
Well, from their standpoint, this is nothing but a good idea because it's going to drive submissions, and that's
Yep.
what they do. That's kind of, that's their gig. All right, Russ, pick your news.
Number 7, sir.
Number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. The 2024 U.S. Mint product schedule has been published. So this is going to include at least all the products that they plan to release. So next year there's going to be a Harriet Tubman commemorative coin, Greatest Generation commemorative coins. Innovation dollars are going to be featured for Illinois, Alabama, Maine, and Missouri. And you have stumbled into our bonus question, the third rail of coin collecting, because this also includes the American Women quarter dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this week they announced the 2025 honorees. So now the series is complete. 20 women. 4 years, 5 years, 25 women. And by doing so, you have now stopped the list and opened yourself up for all kinds of criticism as to who you didn't get.
Yep.
And that's our third rail. So let's go through. First, I want you to see, these are the designs for 2024.
Okay.
And the
I don't see anything I hate, so that's nice.
Yeah. And the honorees are, pretty sure I do. Here we go. All right, so the honorees are Patsy Takamoto Mink. So she is the first woman of color to serve in Congress. Dr. Mary Edwards Walker. She was a Civil War era surgeon. Only woman to be awarded the Medal of Honor.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting choice. I think it's a very good choice. I have a little bit of a connection to this, obviously, with my military service and things like that. She's a very interesting figure. They tried to take her medal. They basically did strip her Medal of Honor away because technically she wasn't in the Army. Technically she wasn't a combatant, all those things. But if you actually read her accounts, I think that there's probably no question that she absolutely deserves that honor. And I actually really like this one because I think it is I don't know how many people actually look at their change. Non-collectors really look at their change anymore. But hopefully it sparks something in someone to look at it and wonder who in the world this woman was, because she has a very fascinating story. So I do like that choice. I think it's a good one.
I personally think that over the over these series, they've really kind of given, from the state series to the park series to now the women on quarters, they've certainly given us things to look at, things to talk about, things to kind of learn. There is also, Reverend Dr. Pauli Murray. She was the founder of the National Organization of Women, and she was a social justice advocate. This next honoree has an English name, but it was not, I don't think it was her given name or her chosen name, so they don't even mention it on the coin. Her name was Kalasa, which is Native American for redbird, and she was an activist for Native American citizenship. And it is because of her that a lot of Native Americans are actually U.S. citizens. And last but not least, the Queen of Salsa, Celia Cruz, Cuban-American singer. I like the designs. They look nice, right?
Yeah.
And, and then here comes the last list. So for 2025, we have, very famous here in Chicago, Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was a journalist, founder of the NAACP, and a social worker. Juliette Gordon Lowe, who was the founder of the Girl Scouts. Dr. Vera Rubin, an astronomer, she confirmed that most of the mass in the universe is invisible.
Yes.
Stacey Park Milburn, champion for people with disabilities. And Althea Gibson was the first Black athlete to break color barrier in the highest levels in tennis and also on the women's professional golf tour. But herein lies the third rail question. Who's missing?
See, and that's, I think, you're never going
By
to please
making this a short
everybody.
series, you've left yourself open.
Yeah. I feel like they probably should have had more of a theme than just notable American women. If you did notable American women in STEM, if you did notable American women in civil rights, if you had a theme to it, I think it might have closed some of those, issues. But yeah, I mean, this is like, hey, American women, you get 4 years, 5 quarters, there's gonna be 20 of you. That's a bit of an ask. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure that someone will have something to say about it. It appears we might have lost Senior Mike.
We've lost Mike.
That's unfortunate.
Okay, I will see if we can get him back.
Yes. It's that Illinois internet. See, I live in Indiana, so we don't have that problem here.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what happened to Mike, and he did not send me the links ahead of time, so I have no access to his list of news.
Can we get him back? Do we need to do an SOS?
I have contacted him. I don't know if I have his actual phone number.
I've got it. I just sent him a text.
Okay. We'll see. Well, in the meantime, does anyone have any questions for Russ?
Give me your best. If you don't know who I am, I'll give you that. Oh, look, he's back.
There he is. Okay. Kind of.
Poor thing.
We're working on it. Can you hear us, Mike?
And conspiracy theories abound. See, that's what happens when you talk about third rail politics.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. Anyways, I digress. Let me get back to sharing this with you.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And this is this is what happens when you do live stuff too. So anyway, so my question was that, when you do something like this, now suddenly you've limited it. You have your, God, this is just amazing. You have your list set. And so by completing a set, it's like, well, why didn't you run it a couple more years? Weren't there a couple of people that should? Did Maria Tall Chief really need both a quarter and a Native American dollar? Because my question to both Matt, or not Matt, to Russ and to Leanna, was who would you think? Who would you think would be missing? So I had a couple of ideas, for people, but Russ, why don't you talk about Molly Pitcher? Because that was
I went with Molly Pitcher, and now that I think about it, it would butt in quite nicely to going into the semi-quincentennial, as we all know is coming, which is a fancy word for saying the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. But Molly Pitcher didn't even necessarily have to be one person. Basically, there's plenty of accounts of women in the American Revolution stepping up, and the very famous thing of Molly Pitcher is she took over her husband's cannon while he was wounded, and she served the cannon and all of those things. But there are a lot of revolutionary women that I think probably could have gotten a quarter.
And I give you a lot of credit for
Mrs.
coming up with that off the top of your head too, because this was like 2 minutes before airtime, so I give you a lot of credit on that.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I think there's plenty. Of John Adams. His wife, Mrs. Adams, was a steadfast. Yeah, Abigail Adams was a steadfast advocate for women. One of her very famous quotes after the Declaration to her husband was, "You need to remember the ladies, John."
Yes. Remember the ladies, and it's that quote appears on her first spouse dollar.
It does, and I think that could have been a good one, but there's a lot of people. It's going to cause some hard feelings.
I thought, where's Rosa Parks?
It's very true.
That
seems like a no-brainer.
Absent. Where's Rosa Parks? But you could do Helen Keller.
Yeah.
You could do Sandra Day O'Connor.
Yeah.
First woman Supreme Court justice. I'd say she's pretty. Or you could even go the route of like they have with entertainment. And what about Betty White?
Yeah.
What about Lucille Ball? So
Lucille Ball needs one.
There's always somebody that's going to have been left out. And I think that, I think my Rosa Parks idea was just kind of like, that one made me scratch my head.
I would agree. We'll see what happens.
But you're always gonna miss on something, and somebody's always going to have some criticism of what it is you do.
Oh yeah.
So. All right, you have successfully navigated the third rail question, and there are 3 left on the board.
How about story number 3?
Okay. Story number 3 is that CDN Publishing has acquired Whitman Publishing from Anderson Press. So this is a combination of John Feigenbaum and his Gray Sheet Enterprise and Whitman Publishing, which is the biggest publisher in the coin hobby, absolutely, and a fairly good-sized publisher in general. My take on this, and I think is kind of important, is this should bring a stronger digital presence to Whitman because they are both data-driven companies.
Yes.
So I think it's just kind of a natural match that the two of them go together.
I've only just started thinking about this, but so, CDN, if you guys don't know CDN and CDN Gray Sheet is obviously a wholesale publication, which isn't even so much wholesale anymore. We all know that the Red Book, while it has tremendous information, Dennis, I love you. Please don't get mad at me. The Red Book has tremendous information. We all own one. We all love it. But the pricing is not so much in reality. I wonder with CDN's technology and their, trends and all these things that they do with market research, I wonder how much better the Red Book is going to become now with the benefit of having guys that truly make the market in what coins are worth. What that's going to do.
Russ.
Yeah.
The 16-month lead time is probably going to kill it.
Allegedly.
We'll
see what happens.
Yeah. No, I think
it's good
the
regardless.
Biggest lesson from that is that, look, Red Book has never been a price guide. People have used it like it, and the fact that it has prices listed in it kind of gives the, the impression that it is. But it is still the greatest numismatic research book on the planet.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for this. I mean, we certainly love Whitman. They're great people. They help us out a lot. They publish tremendous things. We love CDN. So I think this is great. I'm excited to see what they're able to do together.
All right, 2 left.
Let's do number 5.
Number 5. Okay. So the United Kingdom has once again come out with its latest 50-pence piece featuring the snowman. Now, Americans don't know this story. It's kind of like watching the Rankin Bass Christmas things, here in America. It's a rite of passage. The Snowman was a book that was originally written and it had no words whatsoever. It's just a picture book. And
Okay.
it became a Christmas tradition. And in the 80s, they turned it into a TV show. And so it's a 26-minute animated film and basically covers it, but it is beloved to the British. And they do a colorized version of it. They usually do a silver version of it. And let's see, I think
Is that the gold version? Because I know that they do some of those.
uh
Yep.
yeah, there is a gold version. So copper, nickel, silver, and gold, half an ounce gold coin proof. And then I kind of like the colorized versions. And I have to tell you that I have a couple of them from previous years.
Yeah.
Just,
I think that the UK especially, Canada is a very close, close with them. They do colorized coins well. They look natural. They look good. You've seen, I've seen some colorized coins that are
use of color. It's not done for,
yes.
Just for the sake of throwing color on it.
Yeah, so I mean these are cool. I will tell you that the gold versions don't sell that great on the secondary market. I may or may not have a few of them in the safe at work. Um, they don't sell great, especially here in the US because I mean, it's weird. But they're super neat. They're very, very neat.
Yeah, I think the majority of the Britannias that we've sold in the last year and this coming year have more to do with curiosity about Charles
Yes.
and the Queen,
I would agree.
Her Majesty. She's a pretty nice girl. She hasn't got a lot to say. All right, so left is
Oh no.
We were doing so well.
I know he's doing his impression. It's a statue impression. He's very good at it.
It's very impressive, yes.
Yeah.
Truly, truly fantastic impression.
Mm. Well, Mike will fix himself, I'm sure,
He'll
once he
figure
drops
it out.
off. Yeah. I hope he's talking into nothing, into the void. Let's all pretend he was here the entire time when he comes back, okay?
Absolutely. Well, last time when we were waiting on him, you were about to tell us a little bit about kind of yourself and how you got into
Oh,
this.
sure. Yeah. So if you guys don't know me, because I'm obviously not Matt Dinger of the Coin Show podcast. So my name is Russ. I work with Mike at Harlan J. Burke Limited. I also fill in on the Coin Show podcast. Occasionally I, contribute there a lot. But yeah, so basically I got into coins when I was a kid, about 8 years old. Walked into a coin shop in northern Colorado, and pretty much the rest was history. I spent every Saturday in that shop from about 8 years old to about 14 till it closed down. And then I was a vest pocket dealer for a long time as a kid into kind of my teenage years. From there, I actually got hired by Heritage, and I worked for Heritage for about a year. And then I found a little bit of a different calling for about 13 years, which was the U.S. Army as an infantryman. And in November of 2021, I was getting out and I was hired by Harlan to run this downtown, our store in downtown Chicago. So that's what I've been doing since then. Hey, look, he's back.
Great timing. All right, we can see you. Can we hear you?
Hello.
Beautiful. All right.
I'm sorry.
All good. It happens.
It's like this is the fun.
Yeah.
All right, so let's try this one last time. My favorite story, lastly but not leastly. I think the sponsor needs to be flogged. Rare U.S. currency has been sold in or is available in Stack's Power's November 23rd or 2023 showcase auction. I'm just like discombobulated. So this is some really, really cool currency at Stack's Powers.
Got to share your screen again.
Yeah, just a reminder, your screen is not currently being
That's
shared.
fine. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, I forgot something.
Oi, 10,000s.
exist anymore. Yes. So here we are. So, yeah, the rare U.S. currency in the Stax Bowers November 2023 showcase auction will include, because this is coming up November 17th, this really cool choice, extremely fine $10,000 bill, serial number 102.
Wow.
This looks more like Monopoly money than anything else I've ever seen.
Very close to it. It's comical. I mean, it's funny because it always cracks me up with high denomination bills because it's like, they were done in the 30s and even before that. And, 10 G's when this was printed is a stupid amount of money. And now 10 G's isn't hardly anything in the grand scheme of things for a lot of transactions. And it always cracks me up that we had the giant bills when almost nobody could use them. And now if I want to, if somebody wants to walk into our shop and spend 10 grand in gold, I'm sitting there counting $100 bills for 5 minutes.
And I also think that, these designs you want them to be secure. I mean, it's a lot of money, and yet they have a lot of white space on them.
They have a lot of white space on them. Super cool notes, though.
As does the next one, which is the next favorite note.
There you go.
They didn't have a picture of it. No, there was a $5,000 bill, 1934 $5,000 bill that is also 45 choice extremely fine. And that one they didn't have a picture of, which is kind of sad. But then I guess we can move on to this 1882 gold certificate. $1,000.
Very cool. That is a really cool note.
That is a very, very neat note. So this one's in 25. There is a bison in 67.
Oof.
Oh, wait for this. A $5 educational, number 268, in 68 PPQ.
Oh, my Lord. That had to be a presentation piece to somebody.
It has to be, because it's like brand new.
Wow. That's impressive. That's going to go for a lot of money.
And last but not least, 2 Ben Franklin printed 20 shilling.
Those are neat. I love colonial stuff.
Yes.
There's so much colonial stuff that won't break the bank. Like, there are notes that you can get for under $500 that are signed by signatories of the Declaration of Independence. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And it's not a facsimile. It's not an auto pen. These guys hand signed these, and you can buy them. That's amazing.
With a quill. So yeah.
Very cool. That's gonna be a good auction.
Yeah, there's gonna be some obsolete notes. There are just a lot of really cool notes in this auction. And I think it's something that everybody should enjoy.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was the news. And the news today was brought to us by Zippers. Better than buttons since 1895. Zippers.
You've been listening to the Coin. You're listening to the Coin Show podcast with Matt Dinger and Mike Nottelmann.
And so we come to one of Russ's main gigs with our show. It's called the Club Scene. And Russ, tell us what's going on in the club scene.
So the club scene is basically where I just kind of ramble a little bit about coin clubs in general, and a few other things. One thing that I really wanted to highlight, especially if you're in our neck of the woods, which is kind of the Midwest-y-ish place, May 15th, the Early American Coppers guys, the EAC guys, they are having their annual convention in Indianapolis. It's going to be at the exact same place that the recent Indiana State Show was. And I've been told it's going to be really, really good. There's a lot of buzz around it. If you guys have any interest in EAC stuff, Early American Coppers, so large cents and half cents, it's a show that you really definitely want to be at. And honestly, the EAC is just a great organization in general. Everybody is super duper friendly. They have great information. They are absolutely insane for what they do, which is
They are
collect a
their
lot of
own
things.
people.
They
They
are their own
walk to
people.
the beat of a different drummer.
Yep, they do. But man, do they have some interesting things. So that's one of the things I really wanted to highlight, because the EAC is a great organization, great people. I don't know that I'll be able to make it to that show. I would like to, but we'll see what happens. Secondly, there has been a bit of a shakeup with the district representative program for the American Numismatic Association. If you don't know what that program is, basically it's volunteers, and we all have an area essentially where we promote coin clubs and the ANA specifically. So the ANA district rep program is going under some new leadership and things like that, and I think it's going to become a lot better in the near future. So if you have any interest in helping serve the ANA or serve coin clubs, things like that, you should definitely take a look at that. You get a fancy shirt out of it, which is fun. Cute little name badge, but you get a lot of support from the ANA. And I'm a life member, Mike's a life member. The ANA is very near and dear to our heart.
Yes.
So you should definitely check that out. And the last thing I'm going to kind of touch on is there is a new coin club in town that everybody here can be a part of. So
everybody.
Mike and I love to talk about coins. We're super nerds. We will spend all day, every day talking about what we love. And unfortunately for a lot of people, either because of geography or maybe social issues, things like that, coin clubs aren't an option for them. True in-person coin clubs. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a member of 2 of them. I'm the president of one of them. And it can be a challenge to get to meetings sometimes with life. So Mike had the idea that we needed a virtual coin club, one that is actually involved, where people can get together and just be ourselves with coins. So he came up with the fantastic name of Coins Club. Would you like to tell the people what Coins Club stands for, Mike?
You forgot again, didn't you?
No.
It is collectors of interesting numismatic stuff. And that way it covers currency, coins, exonumio, really anything that you can collect. And the idea behind this is, one of the bigger problems with coin clubs in general is that there's so many things that you have to do to maintain your nonprofit status. And you need a nonprofit status because you have to run a hall and you have to do all these things. Well, if we don't have the hall, if we do it virtually, if we do it online, we can still have meetings over Zoom. We learned all this, during COVID, and we can take that concept to a coin club that really doesn't have a treasury. So there's not pressure for people to have to donate money, fundraise, do any of those kind of things. It's just going to be people that love coins, and you can get together, you can speak your mind, and you can learn from each other. And there are a couple of things that we may need here and there, but we also have a lot of people that are really generous with their time and their money, that would be willing to gift us things, like a Zoom connection or something like that for our meetings. So it has already been started. We kind of have been laying the groundwork. It is moving very slowly, mostly for, intentional reasons. I'm trying as hard as I can to protect people's privacy as far as their email address. So I'm also trying to vet people to make sure that they're real people and not robots and not just typical internet trolls. So balancing that has been kind of a project. But if you'd like to join, send an email to me, Mike at CoinShowRadio, or no, let's do it at CoinShowMike@yahoo.com. CoinShowMike@yahoo.com. Send me just an email saying I'd like to join the club. And what I will do is I will take your name, put it in my database, and then you go over to mycollect.com, register, and join the group for Coins Club. And it's a private group. You just search for private groups and you can get in. And if I have an email address that matches your information, then we'll let you into the group. And we're doing all sorts of things right now. We're kind of voting on, should we have a leadership board? Should we just kind of run things haphazardly, which I doubt? Should we use Zoom? should we use some other thing like Twitch or Discord, etc.? And anybody who wants to is welcome to participate and be a part.
And why I would really suggest that, you dip your toe into this is, as Mike was saying, we have some really generous people, and between Mike, myself, Matt, and all of our friends, we know pretty much everybody in this industry. So it's things like, how would you like to have a master class on detecting Chinese counterfeits or things like that with Jack Young, the guy that writes The Dark Side? How would you like to have, hear what's going on in the high end coin market for, a 15-minute talk from Seth Chandler? How would you like to talk, hear what, any of these big guys that we all know that we can reach out to have to say? So often, you hear names like that, and they're just kind of people. Mike and I have the advantage of, not only are we dealers, so we know these people, but Mike and I are also super passionate collectors. We're you guys. We just have the job to go with it. So Mike and I are super passionate about bringing those kinds of people to you. That's why we do Coin Show Radio. That's why we do interviews, things like that. So I would really suggest that you give it a shot, because, like Mike said, it's going slow right now. We're building, we're doing things, but I think it's going to be really cool. So I would really suggest everybody at least gives it a shot.
And that is it for the club scene this week. And thank you for bringing that to us. So the last thing that I want to do before we kind of turn the floor open for questions, and really with me, anything is game, is fine. I'm cool. I have this question that I'd like to ask you, Russ. I'll address it. And if Leanna wants to, she can as well. So what has coin collecting brought you to that you would have never experienced had you not collected?
Man. Oh, so much. I mean, I can't even, man, that's a bear of a question, because
I like to ask good ones.
Would
you like a minute to think about it?
No, I can freestyle this one. Man, coins have been such a big part of my life for such a long time. Since I was a little kid. I have had some of the best experiences in my life tangentially regarding coins. I've made one of my best friends in the entire world. The cat named John, and John and I met at summer seminar at the ANA when we were teenagers. That's been it's going on 18 years now for me since I probably met John, and he lives in Florida, and we still talk pretty regularly. And he was he's been in a major part of my life. And so it's, a guy like that, who the only reason we ever would have known each other is because of coins. I mean, coins has opened the world to me as far as everything. I mean, history and art especially. I've never been a great lover of art until I really started appreciating coins for what they were, which are just little pieces of art that go into your pocket.
See, and I think that's the spirit of the question. So you would probably say art, because you would never, ever have gone into any of that stuff.
Oh, absolutely not. I have no artistic bones in my body. I can't draw a stick figure. But it has interested me so much, and it's turned me into different parts of collecting and things. I work for like Mike, I work for Harlan J. Burke, and we do antiquities, and we do ancient coins. And I studied ancient Rome in college, but I've never gotten into the ancient coin thing. But obviously working at a place like that, you learn a little about ancients, and then you kind of figure some stuff out. And then now that's led into antiquities, and now I'm collecting some antiquities and things like that. So, I mean, coins are just, man, when I tell you coins have given me probably most things in my life, I don't think I'm too far off with that.
See, and that's where I think the lesson is for people, is that this hobby is more than just, collected a couple of pieces, clogging up a couple of books. It really does enrich your life. And so, for me, it was history. I didn't like history in school. I had absolutely, no desire to learn about it. I still am amazed that I passed world history in high school because I don't remember a bit of it. And yet, since going to work at Harlan Burke and starting to do the Ancient Coin podcast with Aaron, I have started learning about ancient history. And now I find myself actively seeking it out, looking at it, reading it, trying to figure out who the emperors are, the family trees, all this kind of stuff, and how it all worked. And so for me, look, history is something really important. Santa Anna said that if you can't remember the lessons of history, you're bound to repeat them. So even if just for that reason, history is important. But it's something that it has brought that to life. And now, yes, my job working with Laura and watching what she does with world coins, hammered stuff from like the 1500s, 1600s, all that really, really early English stuff and European stuff. Yeah. And just what it does. And you had mentioned art. Harlan collects art. And so we've been exposed to Dutch masters and things like that just simply by knowing him. So that is my question to ponder. And what I'd like you to do is, if you'd like to answer our question, you can go to, you can email me, Mike@coinshowradio.com, and I'll probably pick a couple of cool ones, maybe read them on the show. And
I like that idea.
Send you a little gift. Who knows? So with that, let's do the out, and then we'll go to questions.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me go back to this. I've killed this thing so many times, it's not even funny.
You've been listening to the Coin Show podcast with Matt Dinger and Mike Nottelmann. The boys will be back soon with another informative and entertaining episode. Meanwhile, you can follow the show on social media at The Coin Show on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook at facebook.com/The Coin Show. You can also join their private group. Just search Facebook groups for Friends of the Coin Show and request access. But if you want to take it to the next level and support the Coin Show podcast, you can go to www.patreon.com/thecoinshow. If you subscribe at the $5 a month level or higher, you'll have access to Not the Coin Show podcasts on the off weeks, as well as other surprises reserved for our patrons. Visit our website at coinshowradio.com or download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. This has been the Coin Show podcast.
All right, then I think we're ready to open it up for the Q&A.
We are.
All righty, I'm going to have you go ahead and stop the screen share. There should be a red button that says stop share up at the top there. All righty, then anyone listening, go ahead and send in those questions. There are a couple already in here, so we're going to start off with those, and we'll see how many others we get. All right, podcasts were still pretty new 13 years ago, as far as I know. Why and how did you get started?
Okay, so the Coin Show podcast is the baby of Matt Dinger. He had an idea 13 years ago that he wanted to do a podcast, and when looking for one online, was really unable to find one. There was an old Coin Week podcast, I want to say, or it was ANA podcast. There was something that was coin related, and it was super dry, and it was not published in like 2 years, and just really didn't seem to have caught on. And Matt was a fairly young guy at the time. I mean, he was in his early or late 20s, early 30s, and just wanted to bring a younger audience into things. And so I love this part of the story too, because it's like he knew that he couldn't do it on his own, so he reached out for help. And we were all friends in a group called Coin Talk, and he literally posted, "Does anybody want to do a podcast?" And me, I was the first person that answered. So I got the job. And he also hired the second person that answered, and he got the job. And that was it. It was, it's funny. I'd love to say, well, Matt was a fan of my work. It's like he saw it. No, he just, okay, yeah, you want to do it, we'll do it.
You were the first schmuck that raised your hand.
Yeah, I was. About volunteering. You were in the service. So, yeah. So, it's something where I kind of had this frustrated DJ part of me. And it really helped that I had all these ideas. So, over time, we've kind of developed some things that work, some better than others. And we've developed it into this show. And there are now, I want to say, like 7 or 8 coin podcasts out there. So I think that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I also think that nobody can do this the way that we do it. And because of our infotainment kind of approach to it, it makes things like, me having 2 power surges in the middle of this a whole lot easier to stomach. It's just not, it's not that serious. We're not trying for an Emmy Award here.
Yeah, it's really hard, I think, to translate coin collecting into a podcast because it can be really, really dry if you're not really, really careful. And you and Matt have done a very admirable job at keeping that at bay because even as much as I love coins, I've tried to listen to a couple of other podcasts and it can be pretty rough. So you guys have done a very admirable job with that over the years.
That's why we goof around so much, though. I mean, seriously, It really does have something to do with it.
What do you each collect, and why did it originally interest you?
Okay, so I pretty much exclusively, minus a couple little things, like I mentioned, a Peace Dollar book. I have a Lincoln Cent book too. I exclusively collect Liberty Seated. Specifically, I'm working on a lifelong project of a complete Liberty Seated typeset. So that's every denomination, every variety, including the Gobrek dollars. So I have many money to spend. I don't even know what brought me to that design, but I have quite literally been collecting it since I was a kid. I have a tattoo of it because I am a mega nerd. So, yeah, Liberty Seated is my specialty. I see that. I think Len Osberger was in here. Hey, Len. He's the president of the Liberty Seated Collectors Club, which I will also mention. You should definitely join if you have any interest in Liberty Seated. It's one of the coolest designs in the world. It's copied off of a British design, which I think is really neat. But also you can buy things in Liberty Seated with mintages of 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 for almost nothing. Because for most people, they're a type coin. They need one for their typeset and they move on. Guys like me, we see things a little differently. So it's actually a pretty affordable thing to get into for the mintages and what is left around. So Liberty Seated is what I collect.
I can tell you what I used to collect, which was US coins, and I really don't anymore, mostly because of my job at Harlan Burke. It is amazing how going to work for a major coin dealer will just make anything that you can afford look substandard by comparison. So I used to collect US type coins, and I had a pretty decent collection, but I have since found another girl to dance with, and I now collect provincial Canadian coinage. So I collect coinage from New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, and all of the coins that they made prior to Confederation. I have nearly completed a set of these, and I'm finishing in on it. I've got a couple half dimes to do. I've got a couple of dimes to do. I've got like 6 half dollars and 2 $3 gold pieces. And if I can do that within my lifetime, I'll be a very happy guy. It's a really cool set. I would never have started collecting these had it not, been for me working in a coin shop. And they are some of these pieces have mintages of like 1,000, and they still don't cost anything, but for a different reasons, because nobody cares. So that's okay. It's like Tom DeLory, a very famous researcher, was known for collecting what was Panama,
Honduras.
Yeah. Is collecting Honduras
by die variety.
Tokens by die variety. So, when you get to a certain level as far as what you're hawking in the store, it's like what you can afford by comparison is going to pale, but that's okay because you can enjoy that part and then you can do something a little different.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we have one other question in here for now. So if anyone has any last minute ones, this is your warning to go ahead and send them in. But possibly to wrap us up, do you each have a favorite episode from the show's backlog?
I don't know that I have a favorite episode from the backlog. I think if I had to say my favorite episode, it's the first one that I got to appear in. Of course. I mean, it was just super fun. I had never really done anything like it. You had no idea what to expect either. No idea what to expect. I've never really done a lot of this kind of media. In the last year, I started a YouTube channel. Obviously I do this. I appear in videos kind of everywhere now, but before that, I'd really never done that. I had done things like that, but being in front of the camera, actually speaking, never done it. And so I think that first episode that I got to be in is probably always going to be my favorite because it was scary to do that, to put myself out there. But Matt and Mike are two tremendous friends, and it's just like hanging out with your buddies on a Saturday night, and it's hard not to like that.
My favorite, they're like your children, right? I mean, I have 230 children now. I really particularly like the 100th episode. And it was because we did a lot of planning and stuff around it, trying to get some people to say, congratulations, Matt and Mike, on 100 episodes. And it was just kind of the celebration. I've always been super humble about this whole thing because it's like, look, we're here, but for the grace of the people that listen, right? And if not for that, we would just be talking to each other. So I'm grateful for anybody who encourages my silliness, my stupidity, and my contribution to this hobby. So that for me is really kind of where it's at. And in trying to kind of just lay back and celebrate and say, yeah, you have kind of put something together that to me was really important. And it's something that I cherish.
Very nice. Okay. I don't have anything else in the Q&A, so I think that's going to wrap us up. Thank you both so much for taking the time out to participate. I know we've had the Coin Show podcast on, I think, every symposium so far.
Every symposium so far. That's right.
So always happy to have you back.
Always happy to be here.
That's it. So our next one will be starting at 3:30. We've got Ray and Steve Feller with the Japanese American Relocation Center Monies of World War II. So tune into that one.
If you want to join Coins Club, email me, coinshowmike@yahoo.com. Just join a coin club. I don't care if you join mine. Just join a coin club.
Any coin club.
That's right.
All righty. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.